Hey, my name is Dr. Nought, and this is 80 Days. It's day 52, and we're in San Francisco. Let's see what we can see before we, let's see, what are... We can get to Salt Lake City. We can get all the way to Cheyenne. We can get to Omaha. Or we can get to Burlington. That's probably what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do is stay the night first. San Francisco seemed less a city and more a ravenous beast, bent on consumption of everything, even of itself. Within the ever-expanding city limits, the building works made it tricky to talk to anyone. Such was the infernal constant noise. I headed towards Chinatown to eat. It was a warren of crowded wooden and brick houses, temples, businesses, herbalists, laundries, and market stalls selling fruit and flowers. I regarded the people with some interest. Large groups of men stood around smoking, drinking green tea and calling to each other good-naturedly. I felt quite at home. I had traveled around more than half the world, after all. What was one more foreignness in such a foreign place as America? I decided to approach a young man with a Q ponytail, who was relaxing outside a small shop with arms outstretched. He seemed to me to be a wrestler. Despite his slender frame, his arms were heavily muscled. His name was Jing Ho, and he was enjoying his single day off from working on the Transcontinental Railway to New York. "Is the line done?" I asked, and he shot me a weary look. "Nearly, but no. Outlaws keep stealing lengths of track. It is open to the public as far as Burlington. Still, I should not complain. At least I have a job." What would he do once the railway was complete? Alas, I had little time to ponder this, as I had to bid him a hasty goodbye and return to my master. What we're gonna do is fast forward it. We're gonna go to the market and sell. Got the fur coat. We need to get some money. And we got iron ore. Doesn't sell for a whole lot. We can lose one of the bags at least. Don't need the Pacific timetable anymore. Let's just get rid of that. We got a Smith & Wesson. Dallas and New Orleans. Yeah, let's buy it. Chicago, Houston, and Regina. Sure. Driving goggles? Or the Dusty Road set. That's only 4 pounds. Let's grab it. Let's take a look at our luggage quickly. Can we organize this better? Not too much more better. There we go. Okay. Market's open. We just did that. When is the train leaving to Burlington? Parts in 3 days. And it takes until next Friday, so it takes a week. Can we negotiate the price down? The railway man's uniform should yield results. Let's do it. No charge? That is most generous. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Alright, that means we just waste a day, so let's just explore San Francisco. New routes. Where can we go? San Francisco, San Pedro, to Mex, to Acapulco, and up to wherever that is, Seattle. I sloped towards a recently constructed Long Bridge, which was crowded with families out for a stroll and people fishing for silvery smelt with long poles. In the water, there's a jangle of rowing boats racing each other and boatmen taking passengers out to Mission Rock. Cheers and good-natured shouts emitted from a halfway house in the middle of the bridge. I scour the water for boats we might take. There seemed to be none heading out. All were fishing. A man, red-faced and somewhat the worse for drink, bumped into me. I excused myself politely, and he made an apology in return, slinging an arm around my shoulders. "Oh, hello!" he exclaimed. "You don't sound like you are from around here." "You do not sound American either," I retorted. "No matter. I was Dutch once, in a past life, and now I am as American as President Grant. This is the land of newcomers. You a prospector?" "I'm a traveler," I said. "I'm traveling around the world." He laughed. "Oh yeah? And I'm a Navajo chief." I insisted on the truth, sketching out in brief some of my adventures with my master. "What, really?" His eyes widened, and he slapped his thigh. "That's incredible!" A brown-skinned woman slipped her arm into his. I looked for an introduction, and the man smiled quickly. Ah, my manners, he shook his ruddy face. I am Anders, and this is my wife, Jenny. A pleasure to meet you. I kissed her hand. She was surprised, but smiled. Always a pleasure to meet Anders's friends. She looked askance at the whiskey flask in his hands, but seemed to find me unobjectionable. I hesitated, the obvious question about her origins on the tip of my tongue. I swallowed back my question, though clearly with a visible effort, for she laughed with full-throated pleasure. I am of the Modoc tribe, what the New Americans call Indians. Jenny rolled her eyes. Do not mind your surprise. Most of my tribe has been taken to the Klamath Reservation in Oregon. What is a reservation? Jenny looked at me with utter astonishment. They are tracts of land where the first peoples are relocated. When the whites decide they want the gold, the silver, the coal, the buffalo in our homelands. Anders whispered something into Jenny's ear and she laughed, but I feared I had opened an old wound with my prying questions. I nodded, and found my way back to Monsieur Fogg, who was sitting drinking tea with a disconsolate frown. Tastes like soap, he remarked. Would say no more. Yeah, that's tea in America. It's tomorrow, right? Tomorrow? We're not going to Acapulco, we don't have time for that. This is to GASTOWN, not Seattle. This is, what, Vancouver? So tomorrow at 5 p.m. Not today, tomorrow. Okay. We're gonna just stay at a hotel. Before retiring, I spent a few hours walking around and found a cheerful Irish madame who had lost a monocle, which I helped to recover, and who then, between fits of cursing, let it slip that some buyers will pay well for top hats from Salt Lake City. I assured her we were unlikely to head that way, to which my friend laughed. I could not guess why you're on this trip anyway. I'm not paying for that piece of information. Get out of here. Alright, let's get out of here. We're gonna go all the way to Burlington today. Look at that. Perfect trip. Perfect trip. Let's go. Transcontinental Express. We were lucky to arrive in San Francisco just in time to catch a journey along the as-yet unfinished Transcontinental Express, which would take us as far as Burlington in 5 days, with only a handful of stops along the way. We have to figure out where we're going to go after Burlington. Greetings, Monsieur Durant. Good day, mister. What can you tell me of Burlington? I tend not to discuss such things. Oh, okay. We get to Washington? Have you heard that some buyers will pay well for revolvers from Washington? But now, I suppose you don't have any idea who my father is. Apologies, Monsieur, I do not. Oh, don't worry, you will. Okay. Burlington, we want to go east. How about Atlanta? Did you know some buyers will pay well for wax cylinders inscribed with music from Atlanta? That's fine. For instance, some buyers will pay well for wax cylinders inscribed with music from Atlanta. Okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. You don't want to talk. The first day aboard was enjoyable enough. American trains could clearly not compete with their European counterparts, but it was amusing to see them try. Okay. The posters proclaimed Pullman's Palace sleeping cars. They were more like places to keep cattle, if reasonably well-to-do cattle. We sipped cool beer as we rattled through a long stretch of desert, in the shadow of tall mountains. I gazed out the window at the endless, lifeless expanse on either side, wondering if humanity would ever occupy this great open space. It seemed unlikely. Yeah, we're like, where? Nevada? What's the news about? San Francisco Chinatown riots. Man, we left just in time. Our fellow passengers were a curious mix of gold and silver prospectors, homesteaders, farmers from all corners of the world, Mormons, missionaries, soldiers, and stiff-necked gentry of various sorts. It gave a young black woman with a deep red bonnet and an infectious laugh, a wide smile. Her name was Diana. I am meeting my husband in Cheyenne, she told me. He did construction work in New York, but New York isn't safe anymore. We have enough money to move now. Ooh, why isn't it safe? I queried innocently, having only the broad strokes of American news and history. You did not hear of the draft riots in Europe? She asked wonderingly. New York has always had Confederate sympathies. When the Union began drafting New Yorkers, they rioted. They killed and burn black homes. My husband has never felt safe since. But now, we're moving to Cheyenne, she smiled, nearly glowing with happiness. Where else can one go but New York, I asked, thinking of our journey ahead. New Orleans, she replied. You can take the paddle boat down the Mississippi from Burlington, she laughed. Though New Orleans is dangerous in its own way. We talked a little more, and the afternoon wore into evening, and we passed by Ogden, close to Salt Lake City. We watched as passengers disembarked, glimpsing fertile fields and well-tended ranches out of the windows of the train. Okay, there we go. So Burlington, we have to go south to New Orleans so we can go up. What do we got here? Mysterious French pirate seizes steamer off coast of Honolulu. Yeah, that's us. So the question is, do we go all the way to Burlington, or do we go to Cheyenne to Dallas, New Orleans? Today, a fellow with a painfully trimmed mustache and impeccable suit approached me outside the laboratory. I nodded at him companionably, and his thin lips parted in a contained grin. I am Felix Granger, he said. You are a puzzle. I was utterly flummoxed. I? A puzzle? I repeated in consternation. Monsieur, I am a simple man, whose past is an open book. Oh no, don't tell me how you came to be on the Transcontinental. Thereby hangs a tale, I can tell, good sir. It seemed a probing question, which made me immediately suspicious of his motives. I made some non-committal answer, but he pressed me further. Finally, I confronted him and asked him his business outright. You are a sharp customer, and no mistake, he grinned, though I perceive no harm in you. I am a Pinkerton agent. I knew a little of the Pinkertons. They were a detective agency, and had been hired by Abraham Lincoln himself during the American Civil War. What are you doing here? I asked, fascinated. He looked around before leaning closer to whisper his true purpose. I am here because we have heard rumors that the outlaw Jesse James plans to rob this train. What? So keep your eye out. Your character is now courageous. I was gonna jump off at Cheyenne and go down to Dallas, but maybe we'll go over to Burlington and down the Mississippi. We stopped at Cheyenne, Wyoming for a few hours in the evening. The Pinkerton agent disembarked to talk with a 6-foot-tall woman who wore the latest. Slim, trained skirts, and a pistol tucked under or into her waistband. Is that Annie Oakley? That'd be cool. We watched, none the wiser. At luncheon, I asked a sturdy-looking prospector, who looked out of the carriage with an expression of palpable awe. That's Esther Hobart Morris, the first woman justice of the peace in all of America, he said fervently. Ain't she something? The Pinkerton agent boarded the train again before the last whistle blew, his face drawn and anxious. Let's chat with somebody. Greetings, Felix. Passpartout. Burlington to New Orleans. I hear that some buyers will pay well for revolvers from New Orleans. That's great. How about New Orleans to New York? On the subject of trains, I've heard my mother once took the Winnipeg and Duluth Railroad from Chicago to Winnipeg. Oh, we don't have that one yet. Perfect. How about New York to... let's learn more about Winnipeg. Winnipeg is a crossroads of sort. Now, anyway, do you prefer rain or snow? What snow? It's been too long since I've seen the snow. Yeah. Do tell me more about New York. Apparently you can pick up rare and misprinted stamps in New York that will sell for a fortune in Lisbon. What else do you know about Lisbon? I hear that Lisbon is linked to London aboard the Madre de Deus, but the fare is extortionate. And more about London? Did you know that the quickest way to London from here is to go via Washington? Good to know. Winnipeg to Chicago, or through Duluth. Alright, we're making the map, Lisbon to... London. Oh, we're getting there. We need to get the Atlantic ships, I think. We were held up by outlaws, as the Pinkerton men had predicted. Yes, in Omaha. They dragged tree trunks over the line and forced the train to a halt. Uh-oh, this is gonna take us more days. We're only 22 days. Oh, I don't know if we're gonna make it. Before boarding, brandishing pistols and sabers. They went carriage to carriage, demanding valuables. Typically, the Pinkerton agent was nowhere to be seen. I looked at my master, who had a certain glint in his eye, and I did not doubt that he wished to resist these outlaws' demands, being a man with the deepest respect for the law. The lead bandit fired his gun into the air. The name, he declared, is Jesse James. Now give me everything you've got. The saber lifted to my throat. I moved to draw my revolver, but the man knocked my hand aside. So I'll keep calm, shall we? He advised. I had already hidden our valuables on the warning of the Pinkerton agent, so I invited him to search my things with little success. The saber point moved on. Now I was at Monsieur Fogg's neck. What about you? You look good for it. I jumped to his aid. He is my gentleman, I declared. I carry his possessions for him. Is that so? The outlaw declared with interest. So I should technically be taking from you twice, should I? There was no other option. I hit him. Not a heavy punch, but enough to send him reeling a touch, and then Monsieur Fogg with a swoop battered him over the head with the trunk and threw the man out of our carriage. Through the window, I saw him being picked up by a group of rather surprised soldiers who waved a thank you. Nice! Then the steam engine restarted and we were soon on our way. Not much worse for wear. A few hours later, we reached Burlington. We disembarked, grateful to have arrived in one piece. Relations with Fogg have strengthened. The amethyst could be sold handsomely here. Let's head to the market. It's only 3 p.m. Let's get, come on, 200. Oh my gosh, Brazilian snuff. Ooh. So we just sold that, we didn't sell that for much at all, and we're gonna buy Brazilian snuff. I worry about the boat trip across the Atlantic. We might have to sell like everything we have. This will go down, I think we'll go through Atlanta for this one. Alright, we're gonna keep on everything else here. Let's see, this is Main Street Market. Main Street is only a few shops long. They all sell everything. Nice. And yeah, what we'll do, I think, how long does this take to New Orleans? Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Sounds good. We can alter the departure? The partial Englishman's wardrobe should change their minds. Nothing really seemed to happen. It's a good time anyway. So what we're gonna do is take a break now. When we return, we're gonna go down the Mississippi River. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.